and try to bind it thematically somehow. And with me, I'm all over the place. So the way I chose to bind it was through the title story selection of Glass Animals, which is one of my wife's favorites, Flash I've written. And then I divided it into sections, 4 sections for properties of glass. In the first section, it's called Reflect, which are stories that I feel are character stories that reflect, inward reflecting stories. Then Refract, which are stories that are more plot driven. And then Reveal, which are stories that depend upon a revelation. And then Distort, which are my favorite stories that distort reality. Let's see. For example, this one is original to the collection. It's called Funny Stuff. Saturday nights I hang out in the alley behind the Revco, waiting on my buddy to empty the trash. He always stuffs a bottle of dopamine in the bag, and I pay him a little something for it at church the next morning. Works like clockwork, only tonight I was a little late. I checked the dumpster, rifled every damn bag, no bottle, no happy pills to carry me through the crappy night, no belly laughs to lubricate my loneliness. Now, I'm not one to howl at the moon when I'm hurting, but it was pretty bad. The shudders, the sobs, indigestion, you name it. I hadn't laughed in days, hadn't even smiled. I didn't know how long I could last, if you want to know the truth. A man without laughter is like music without sound. I was heading back toward the street when a side door opened, laughter spilled into the alley, a flood of the stuff, and out pops this guy in oversized pants and bozo hair. The door closed, laughter gone. I pulled my arms tighter around myself, and I do mean tight. You show a hungry dog that steak bone, take it back and see what it gets you. Hey, I said, you the one making those people laugh? He turned, eyelids flapping. Did you make those people laugh? I said. Creases formed on his white paint forehead, parallel chasms as dark as the alley. I got my share. What's it to you? What's it to me? I pointed my finger like a gun. I want laughs. You got laughs. Hand them over. And no funny stuff, if you know what I mean. Oops. That was almost funny. His nose spun around. Water shot from a flower pinned to his chest. That was exactly what I was talking about. He's lucky I didn't blast him. And take off that goddamn nose, I said. Nothing, huh? He detached the nose and stuffed it into his overstuffed pocket. His real nose was fleshy flat. He nodded at my hand. What are you going to do with that? I pulled my thumb and made a clicking sound with my tongue. The clown's shoulders slumped. You're serious then? Too serious, I said. Way too fucking serious. I haven't had so much as a chuckle all week. I'm so serious. Okay, the clown said. He raised his hands defensively. We can talk this out, right? Don't do anything you'll regret. The pills, I said. I know you took them. How else could he have made that audience laugh? He was as funny as Jock Itch. What pills, he said. His lips went straight, but his face continued to smile. Irritating, to say the least. The pills you found in that dumpster. I pointed back along the alley, and he took the opportunity to bolt. I formed my left hand into a gun and fired overhead. Bam! The sound echoed. The clown stopped in mid-stride. I don't use pills, he said, turning slowly with hands raised. You have to believe me. Prove it, I said. Ask anyone. Just open that door and make me laugh, I said. You must know a joke or two, right? I got a million of them, he said, and he seemed to relax. What do you call a cow with no legs? Not funny, I said. I didn't do the punchline. Next. He sighed. Okay, how about this? 2 peanuts are walking down the street. One is assaulted. He rat-a-tatted his index finger. Where are the pills, I said. I pointed square at his face. Okay, he said. Look, I found them in the dumpster like you said, but they're gone now. I used them. I had to spend the whole bottle on that crowd. You're holding out, I said. No, he said. No, really. It's honest truth. A shivering fit overtook me. I couldn't stand it anymore. All this unfunny drama in this humorless alley. It was too much. Sayonara, I said, and pulled the trigger. Blam! For a long moment, he just stood there, face shifting through broad emotions, pain, anger, remorse. The creases in his forehead reappeared. He looked down at himself, his arms, his stomach. He felt his throat and ribs. You missed. His mouth mimicked the smile on his face. Did I? The flower on his chest quivered. Blood oozed from its center and began to flow. The clown gasped. He clutched at the flower and fell to his knees, then backward onto his back. I walked to the corpse and stared into those glassy eyes. I felt bad. I wouldn't have done this if he hadn't found the pills, if I wasn't late, if. No number of ifs will turn a wish into fact. I searched through his pocket, squishy nose, entwined handkerchiefs, lipstick. Underneath the junk, I found what I was looking for, my hit, my dope, a single capsule of dopamine. So you were holding out, I said. I popped the pill into my mouth. The taste was salty, then sweet. The churning in my stomach stopped, reverse direction. A giggle bubbled up. Look who's laughing now, I said. Before I knew it, I was laughing so hard I had to hold my sides. That overpainted clown bleeding in the alley was the funniest damn thing I ever saw. So, if you're up for another one, or okay, you guys. Sure. Let's see if I can find. Here's a really, really short one. This is my editor's favorite story, which probably says a lot about him. It's called Gold Standard. Shelley injected gold leaf into her veins. Her thinking was that as it settled out, she would become both more valuable and less vulnerable. Instead, she nearly died from blood poisoning. Her skin turned the color of tarnished copper. Her insurance refused to pay for chelation therapy. Her boyfriend dumped her. Her boss fired her. She returned home to a stack of unpaid bills and a dead cat. In due course, she was evicted. Now she roams the streets, turning tricks to get by. All because I tried to make something of myself, she explains in her more lucid moments. So, all right, maybe one more quickie. You guys might like this one. I like it. It's called, this one appeared in somewhere. It was like this, Foliate Oak, I think it was. Yeah, Foliate Oak. This is one of the first things I published. It's called Lactose Intolerant. Jimmy always fell for the cool girls. There was nothing logical about the urge, just an electric want skittering along the wires of his spine. A girl in sunglasses sent him mooning. A girl with a gun gave him the sweats. The ultimate addiction? A girl in sunglasses with a gun who showed no interest, zero zilch in his pathetic self. Jimmy saw her in Walmart. It was a busy Saturday, and there she was, wheeling a plastic shopping cart topped with shrink-wrapped steaks and sausage links through the masses of grazing shoppers. She wore a camouflage t-shirt, desert not jungle, and crisp brown slacks. A handgun was holstered on the efficient half-curve of one hip. Wrap-around shades hid her eyes. The cart possessed a serious wobble, a catching front wheel that seemed determined to alter her course. She pushed relentlessly through its tantrums, leaving little skid marks on the linoleum. There wasn't a hint of frustration on those slanted cheeks, that thin-lipped mouth. Jimmy found it all fascinating. He tossed a pizza box into his own cart and set off in pursuit. It pushed his limits to catch up to her, but he did. "You've got a bad wheel," he said. It was the dairy aisle, the air cool against his skin, a hint of curdle in its scent. She turned. Jimmy saw the shadows of unblinking eyes behind her sunglasses. He felt suddenly exposed, which only heightened the sense of dangerous thrill. He gazed at the sidearm, and his hackles went wild, buzzing and yearning in the same instant. "Flee," his hormones screamed. "Stay," he told himself. He wanted to touch her holster. "Is it loaded?" She gave him a hint of a smile. "Think you can take it?" Jimmy nodded. "Knock yourself out." She shaped her arms like a gunfighter, hands open but away from her hips. Screw it, Jimmy thought. He closed his eyes and lunged. His body hit hers. He imagined a linebacker driving into a running back, the football squeezed between them. A resounding crash sounded. Tubs of butter spilled from the shelves. A bag of shredded cheese exploded. He grabbed her wrist. The gun was half drawn in her hand. Grunting, he tried to pry her fingers loose. "No," she panted, leveraging her other arm against his chest. With a shove, she rolled him along the dairy case and yanked the gun free. Now he leaned across the case, face up. She stood over him, gun sighted on his forehead. All around them, people stared. Jimmy smiled. "You're pretty strong." She nodded, cheeks ever so slightly flushed. The gun barrel did not move. "Help me up," Jimmy said. The electricity of the moment had given way to a dull sense of accomplishment. This was one impressive pickup line. Her lips parted, exposing teeth. "Help me," he said, extending his hand. His hip throbbed. "You win, I'll buy you dinner, how's that?" "No," she thumbed the safety off. "Seriously?" Jimmy said. "Dude, I learned my lesson, you put me in my place." "Not yet," she said, and pulled the trigger. So that's that.